Just picked up a used $20 case with some fans and a DVD burner from Craigslist for 20 bucks. Couldn't pass it up. The rest is here for my build, my first ever PC build, and you guys are along for the ride. So with the motherboard is between the X570 and the B550 for compatibility in the future. Went with the 570 because this had a little bit better thermals and two 4.0 PCIe slots, of which I'm not using any, but it's nice to know. I don't mind spending extra $20 or $30 for that, being that I saved it on the case. For coolers, I have a few in the mix, but right now we're going to use the deepcool gammaxx 400 V2. Even though there is one with AMD, I wanted a little bit nicer cooling scenario. Right now, between the motherboard and the GPU, these are the only two things that are really available, if at all. This was the 6-core Ryzen 5 2600X, and I also have for the graphics the MSI 1660 Super, and it's the Ventus XS OC edition. Two hard drives. One is the 970 EVO with the 500GB NVMe M2 size, and then your standard, the 1TB 7200. Power supply is Microcenter's brand. That is their power spec. It's a 550 watt 80 plus bronze edition, and all the cables are non-modular, but they are black, which kind of fits with this build, if you will. And the memory is the Gskillz Ripjaws. It is a 3600 16GB, and they are CL16 1939 coded. And we have a reader for my memory stick from the camera and a cable to make that hard drive work. Oh, and then of course the paste, NT-H1 from Noctua. Okay, let's get building. I hope, oh, Windows. Gotta have that. Windows on a thumb drive. Hopefully it's just the mounting brackets. There. That's probably not brilliant. Nice. Ooh. Is it? Oh, that's the Wi-Fi. Okay. Well, that's nice. Some standoff screws. It's for the hard drive, so I didn't even need to buy one. It was included. I/O shield. I will need to read that. Certificate of reliability. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. This whole footage will be edited using this build, so I think I've got enough SD card storage to make it happen. Okay, so I'm not using, and this might be the downfall of it, I'm not using one of the Static Shock bracelets. Wow. So many options. I guess we'll start with the CPU. Why not? It looks to be like that corner, but why is there not an indicator? I mean, there's that little indent in the triangle, but that is... wow. Okay. Yep, it's in there. Oh, the sound of that. Oof. They're all meshing up all at once. Glad I read the manual. They actually had a really good idea using the power supply as your grounding touch point. I was using the case, but I feel that grounding to the power supply makes more sense. So I got a screaming deal on this power supply. It's $20, and that was due to it being an open box. We shall see if that makes a difference. Didn't look to be used but a few minutes because the fan is spotless, so my guess is they needed a more powerful unit. Well, I know at least what half of these do. Oh boy. So this is now grounded I think. Should be. Cool. Okay, so I've got the CPU. Right before we do the cooler, let's do the memory. And just confirm the light gray slots, the two, not the two outer ones, but the outer one, skip one, outer one, in direction away from the motherboard is the proper for this motherboard, and just single slot would be the farthest away. I think that's standard. Don't quote me. I kind of want to put electrical tape to cover that up, but these are easy enough to pop in and out. Let's see how they look without it. Come on. Oh, it's just one side. Right? Right. Wait for a satisfying click. It was not satisfying. Because it wasn't right. Or was it? I guess it is. I feel like that notch needs to be further down. But there's no... It's symmetrical the whole way across. Okay, again, first time build. Okay. Cool. Need to be touching that more. Okay, memory's done. Gotta add up all the cool stickers and all said and done. So I'm actually going to run two M2 slot hard drives. One is here, but right now I just got one in. So we'll just use this one. Wow, these screws are tiny. Cool. Ooh, perfect. Now I don't have a magnetic screwdriver. That makes this a lot easier. And I've seen those magnetizers and demagnetizers you can buy for like $10, but everyone says they're terrible, so I've never... This is why I'm glad we're doing this next, because the mounting plates, sometimes get mounted from underneath. Yep, so that plate goes from underneath. It's actually a pretty good manual. Oh wow, they even give some thermal paste there. Pretty slick. I can tell this is going to take a lot longer than it needs to be. Might fast forward this section. Turns out, I'll take these brackets off. Barely getting this off. Cool. No easy way to do this, is there? So this is where I'm confused, because it's, I guess it's safe to sit on there. Yeah. Okay. Will that be enough? There. Okay, so the fan rotates counterclockwise and it blows this way. So we want it fan facing down because we want the air to get the heat to rise. Cool. That was armless. Because I've got two arms that are longer, two that are shorter. I guess it is the... It'll be easier when I did it. Oh no! The heat pipes are going the other way. Okay. So I gotta turn it 90 degrees because I can't see instructions. Wow. Okay, so the fan cooler has to go one way or the other. Let me think this through. Cool. And it will clear the memory. Outstanding. So this was supposed to go like that. Much better. Putting the memory back in. I don't even need to put electrical tape after all, it's all covered up by the fan. The moment you've all been waiting for, the graphics card. The most expensive part of any build. Ground. Oh. Okay, just to rest like that. Now we need power. So this is the only plug that looks like it. So it must be it. So, gave it a little bit of think. I'm actually going to forego the bench test. I know it's kind of crazy I didn't set up to that. Reason being is the monitor is going to take up a lot of space. And then trying to bring the case in frame while I'm building it. I don't want to take the monitor back and forth because it's a new monitor. I guess I spoiled the surprise. Okay. Let's set it in the case. I/O shield first. Let's see, what do I want to do to move this around? Let's move this over here. So we're actually going to set the power supply in first because that will be more in the way before the motherboard. So here we go. I guess it just kind of, well, it screws to the back plate. Audio on the lower part? Yes. Okay. So I think I've got some screws that work. I should figure out the fan setup on the other side before I go much further. Throw the graphics card in. That looks cool. What? Oh, it's in the other two slots. Okay. Okay. I just heard something drop and spin around. You guys probably saw it, I didn't. So there is cable management on the back side of the case, which I do want to use. But I do know some of this stuff has to be routed up the front. But that said, I don't know if we can get everything back there because the power supply and all of its cabling doesn't have a pathway. I guess, I mean, I could drill a hole here. I don't know if I want to do that just yet. I want to say the sticker side goes up. I am almost... Wow, I mean, tool is sure, but that is floppy. Are they supposed to be these things in the back? I guess you just rely on gravity. Okay. I mean, it's reasonable. I mean, that might... Darn it. I guess I could zip tie that there. That won't be too bad. This really is a short cable. Someone probably got wind that this was too short. That's why they returned it. Pretty sure what I'm plugging in now gives power to all the fans. Not entirely sure. Okay, that is done. There's a little channel there for that little tab to go in. Interesting. I think I did that backwards, didn't I? So all my black cable ties are at the other location, and I have a clear or white cable ties. I guess they're clear. Here. So it goes. I guess it's just an excuse to re-cable manage. Is this upside down? So confused. Surprisingly, it actually looks a little cleaner. Oh, did I do the same thing again? I don't really want to strap this one down just because I know there's going to be a few more on that one. So that's out of the way. This one has to be cable managed. So how do we do this? Got it. Cable managed. Awesome. Okay, what's next? Let's do hard drive. Fans I'm doing last, just so you know. Well, actually, you know what? Before I do fans, let's do the let's power these first and then get the controls, because controls are going to go on top. It seems. Okay, so this is most likely the data for them, so that would be my guess. That looks to be like power, that also looks to be like data. Well, these are all power anyways, what am I saying data for? But anyways, powering. Now, I've always heard people say do this last because they're the most likely to break, so what I'll do is I'll place them there. Oh, can that reach? What? Half an inch. Half an inch longer would be okay. Okay, so that is power for the hard drive, power for the DVD burner, which, by the way, okay, so that's in there pretty well. Now what? I mean, I guess we're powering fans, aren't we? We have the data cables for the hard drive. And a little while later, I have looked through the manual. This is the manual from the case, and then I have the manual for the motherboard, and it does look like I can clear up a few things. So first, let's take care of the audio jack from the front input, which are going to be on the very bottom of all our cables. And there are two styles here. The AC97 is an older standard, and the HD audio, which looks to be even thicker cables, which would indicate more power as well. Also indicated HD audio is down here. But before I do that, if anyone caught it, I actually misplaced the pin up front for the motherboard fan. There are two on this one, which will come in handy, and I'll know where to place it. The second one is here when I get the dual cooler spoiler. And right now, why won't that be? So there are two inputs that look the same, and I needed to place it on the second one, the one closer to you, which you cannot see me do, other than hear me describe what is going on and why. USB and serial, so that is something else. So anyways, back to the audio. We have, looks to be, so we have the HD audio plug. So there's one plug missing, which would be this plug, and it's on that side, so the plug goes in this way. I guess this would have been easier to plug in first, but... Okay, so next, the second one I found out was the front. So we've got USB, which those are down in there. And there's also a USB 3.0 port there, which I don't think... I'd have to look into it. This may... I don't know if you can use the existing one. Well, no, because it's got a block there. And that won't fit in. Okay, so you can't use the 3.0 with the 2.0 cable. Darn. USB... There's two USB ports there. What do you want to do? So let's go around. Let's go this way. To match the other ugly looking cable. So we could sleeve these later, now that I know what they are. And we do use them. Unless maybe I can figure out how to upgrade to a 3.0 cable, which actually still may be worth looking into. Or 3.2 even. Because I've got the input for it. Alright, I'm not going to cable those cable ties just yet because I might need to get a few more things placed in this area. And I'll make sure they're loose, less likely to get bound up. So that third thing is going to be down here in the bottom right. So this is the exact same plug that we have, and this just replicates it, which is nice because you can make sure you're pinning things in rather than looking at the board and struggling. So this is actually pretty clever. Now we will make sure those go there in a moment, because before I even get to that far, mysteriously I've found that this is more properly cable managed. Don't know how that happened. It's kind of weird. So we've got those two USB. We actually have a third USB and SATA. I've never seen a SATA exposed on the top of the case, and I imagine it's for backup of a hard drive, but that's what these cables for. So the red is an actual port from the top that is SATA, so that's going to go right there, and then the other one is a second USB. So we've got two up top, two in front, so I'm guessing these handle dual USBs, so I'm curious if the speed, if you do run two at a time, what that is, but that's for a later time, because for now, we plug it in right there next to his brother. Okay, what's next? So now we've got SATA ports. Now I have 4 SATA ports here and 4 SATA ports there. All the SATA ports. Now I'm pretty sure that these were intended, I mean everything from the front has been plugged in the bottom, but also where the position of where our SATA devices would typically go are over here. So I'm going to leave those open and use these instead for the front. Well, actually, you know what? Scratch that. This is going to go down here because these are the SATA ports that this is going to use over here, and this can reach, so I'm going to go down here. So we're definitely going to have to sleeve the red because we don't have any red on this. Maybe just a hint of orange or the copper from the copper pipes, and the rest is black and gray. And my cooler is silver now, but it will eventually be black and gray as well. So, and these are a rainbow of cables. Definitely are going to get a sleeve. Okay, so these can definitely tuck as much as possible into the abyss, which is the behind section of the hard drive storage. It's funny, there's all these spots for was it 3.5 drives, and there's a 2.5 drive at the bottom for one SSD. It's like, okay. I know there's adapters you can buy to house, or the housing adapters, but I'm not there yet. Besides, I've got 2 M2 slots, which this was not designed for those because it didn't exist at the time, so that's why there's so many hard drive slots, because this has a floppy drive slot, which I have determined cannot be used even though I have a floppy drive because I don't have the power supply to power it. And I'm sure there's an adapter, but it's not worth it to do that, just the sentimental reasons, and plus the drivers and the software is probably not supported. So I'm zip tying this. The blue and white cables are going on top, and the USB cables are on the bottom. They're sandwiching the main power. Was it the ATX cable? Is that what it's called? That's okay. So if it's done really well, I can hide the red cable, but it's only a very particular viewing angle, so I'm not too worried about that. Oh shucks, that should have gone in there. Well, we met our first little hurdle, which was that I know this will match. This is a newer fan. This can go right there on the motherboard. However, the front and top fans have, I think they're called Molex, I'm not entirely sure, but these are, well, they do plug in each other. I don't have an adapter. Now, theoretically, I could just power them straight from 12 volt supply. Actually, no, I can't. I was like, that's the same plug, but that is it. Well, maybe I can. So, essentially, they might just be powered all the time? Question mark. But then the challenge with that is what speed, and if they're full blast, that's no bueno either. So, even though technically I might be able to get power to them, I'm just going to leave it open for now. I'm going to buy the adapters so I can plug them into the motherboard. So, these I'm just going to tuck away. See what I mean? Oops. Okay, so that's one down. So two flat, and one curved. So the reason why we want to use this one here is due to a larger graphics card will get in the way. You want anything on graphics card area to be flat, whereas up here you can just go straight through. I mean, it will clear the fan just fine. This one's going, that one's going up, and this one's going down. Joke's on you. Okay, so this is our hard drive, although I guess it goes through any SATA port will do. So this is what I mentioned earlier. The SATA ports from the front, it reached, I put it down here, and then these devices will plug in the middle of the board here. Just question is how to best cable manage this. Okay, so I have power to my hard drive, M2 slots in, and as far as the heat shield goes, I read into it. I guess this understanding is that the controller needs to be cool, but the rest of it does well when it's actually hotter, so most heat coverings really don't do anything for you. And being that this is going to be the hotter one anyways, because it'll be a little bit faster. I mean, I could buy a shield. I was actually tempted to, but it will do okay, says the internet, because they're always right. I've got the Wi-Fi to plug in the back, but that's last, I think. So with our fan situation, we'll leave it open as it is. Cable management, it's, I think, as good as we're getting for now. I guess I could do one more. I guess that kind of works. Doesn't kind of work, it does work. There's so much copper in there that doesn't even need a twisty tie. Now eventually I could anchor it down there, but for now, being I'm going to route a whole bunch of fans through there. Okay, let's tidy up one more. Do I have one more zip tie? I might have run out. I guess, oh no, there we go. And I thought about this, I could have made this into a Q&A, done that at the same time, make it more interesting. I noticed a lot of people who play video games and they narrate, I don't know how much they can enjoy the game because they are concentrating on what to say versus just immersing themselves. And honestly, this being a learning experience, I kind of want it to be a kind of like a hands-on, seeing what happens as it goes, not being too distracted to narrate. Here I am narrating. You get the point. Cool. So that one can anchor down. Perfect. Cool. It's actually reasonably cable managed. I mean, for what a circus show these cables are. So if I did this right, I could have had these cables go underneath. Like I said, it's kind of getting sandwiched there, and that does look... You know what? We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Yes, let's do it. Maybe if I get an extension, I'll have to cover up that logo. For now, obviously no choice, but for a brighter future. I'm really thinking that this was designed, this power supply is built to be on top, in that the cabling lengths, although I guess that, maybe if it goes, maybe, I think it's what we are just going to have to do it. We're going to have to go with the cabling underneath for this. I mean, is there gravity in there? Wow, okay. Okay. That is a shard. Gold plated. Ooh, excellent Wi-Fi connection. Now I've had both a laptop, a computer, and a desktop get Wi-Fi from this location. I'll be interested to see how signal progresses. It's better, worse, or the same? Because this technically should get the best. Even more, well, yeah, even more than my phone should, so interested to see. Okay, so we have Wi-Fi Let's go through system. Power supply plugged in but turned off. We have the motherboard. ATX power is in. We have secondary power that is in. We have DVD drive that's hooked up. Power and data both going there. Hard drive, data, power. We have the M2 screwed in. We have the graphics card with power. Fan, the one fan that we can plug in there. This fan is plugged in. We have thermal paste and it is mounted and it is secure. That is secure. Power supply secure. Hard drive has 9 screws. That is secure. Everything's screwed down. AIO shield was in before we installed the motherboard. Cool. I think we're ready for a boot up. There was one thing, I mean, aside from plugging in the USB, I'm trying to think if we do that before we do the first boot attempt. Yeah, let's just, why not? Should be that one. Ooh, wow. The AIO screen sticks out too much because I think the slot got pinched. Ta-da! So we are going to put another fan here as well. But you can see the RGB from in here, which actually, I don't know if I have any RGB from here. Memory's not RGB. That particular graphics card is not. I have another graphics card I could throw in, but this is used and that was new. I'm just going to sell a new one. Much easier. And hard drive is not RGB. So I don't have any man, the light I have is not RGB. The fan will be right here. I feel like, okay, that's, I think, a ticket for an LED strip around broadcasting out so you get the ambiance of it. That's got to be what we do next, because there is a controller on the underside of the case that I haven't used, and also the motherboard has a control as well. Awesome. Stage 2, let's boot this sucker up. We have the case all set, and now we got a bootable monitor. 34 inches, baby! A big box there, 3 LEDs, and then a little circuit board. So between this box and that box, there are 3 LEDs. Let's hit the power button. Let's see what she does. In order for things to work, it must be powered on first. Okay, now we can start it up. Let's take a look. I'm hitting F2 on my keyboard. Well, I've got both fans running. So CPU fan is acknowledged. Now, I don't have anything on the screen yet, but that's okay. Well, I can see it's the third LED going. Oh, I've got it! Yes! Total memory. So it's by default 2133. You go into settings and fix that. New CPU installed. Please F1 to setup. Okay, so I think I'm done pressing F2. Now comes the fun part. So one cool thing about this is the SanDisk is the thumb drive that's what we're going to boot from. The M.2 is the Samsung 970 EVO, and the SATA is that one there, the Seagate. So it does actually work, and we have all 3 hard drives shown, which is awesome. So we will proceed. Wow. Look at the real estate and all that information. That's outstanding. I made some noises. What was making noises? I think the hard drive did a quick spin and the CD did a quick spin. Yeah, the one in the back's making all the noise. Oh well. Oh no, okay, so CPU fan's only running at 627 RPM and the back one is 680. That's crazy you can monitor that RPM with just 3 pins. Okay, CPU temp 30 degrees. That's pretty cool. Tuff Gaming. Okay, memory. So speed is 3600. It does recognize that, but it does only operate at the moment at 2133 megahertz, which is definitely a setting. Now also the big thing is this CPU will only handle, I want to say it is only 2200 megahertz, or I'm sorry, forgive me, 2700 if you boost it, 26 by default, something to that effect. So I will do some clocking to get it there. And then again, the 8 gig SanDisk, that's where we're going to boot from. So forgive me, this is just kind of boring BIOS stuff. Let me put this down and read the manual and get back to it. So a little bit of a development, so I went and searched through the BIOS, updated some settings, real basic ones. I mean, like 2 settings. So I did the VRAM or whatever the better clock frequency for the RAM was, and then also changed the settings for the operations to be more in tune with the CPU, to be at a higher frequency as well. And then now I'm booted off Windows, off my thumb drive, so we're going through that process. Behind the motherboard is an RGB, and it's in color changing mode. How cool is that? Oh, that's so sweet. So you can see the color on the motherboard, on the silicone, actually go through it, so it's transparent, and then underneath it's where the LEDs are. That's awesome. We're gonna have to put like a reflector or something to amplify that. That is brilliant. We'll control the RGB when I get the second set of fans in. Those are RGB, so we're gonna make them all coordinate at the same time. So I'm not messing with it just yet, but we'll get our keys going. So we are now running Cinebench. It's actually release 2.0 or 20. I don't really know. 2,844, and I have no idea if that's good or bad, other than what we give with Intel. So compared to Ryzen, I'll have to go find out, do some web searching. So apparently my best Cinebench score on a single core is magnitudes above everyone else. Instead of 400 for the latest and greatest, mine is 1,149,606. Outstanding.